Hello and welcome to First Issues Weekly, the compilation of the weekly comic review show First Issues Now. Every day you can check out the newest first issues of comics reviewed over on First Issues Now, or weekly in a batch like this, right here. I'm AJ Carey, the comic archivist, and these are the comics released for the week of September 24th, 2025. It was a short week, and I'm sure I missed one or two comics, but working on a new project, or rather a revival of one of my former channels in a big way. But that's for future AJ to let you know about. But now, it's last week, today. Marvel, I went off about overselling Age of Apocalypse a week or two ago, and while I don't think Secret Wars 3 was bad, why is there a Battleworld book on my pull list? We do not need a Secret Wars 4. I know, corporate synergy. It's the next major MCU story, so we're gonna see a lot of it quickly. Anyways, here's Battleworld number 1, written by Christos Gage, art by Marcus II, colors by Rochelle Rosenberg, with letters by Travis Lanham. The Battleworld from Secret Wars returns. Slay your enemies, prove your worth, and all your desires shall be yours in the world to come. Heroes from across the multiverse are thrown together on a patchwork world to engage in their own secret wars for the survival of their timelines. Who or what has created this Battleworld? And for what nefarious purpose? Enter Maestro. Is he friend or foe? Those are actually very easy to answer questions. Marvel Editorial put it together. Why? To suck every drop of blood out of an idea until there's no returns available. Who's Maestro? Someone there just to explain a lot of stuff before they drop him. Now, do I sound jaded? Well, I am, because I don't think I've read a book that feels more pointless than this, and that's including Spider-Man and X-Men of Apocalypse. Now, I want to say this before I go into all of what I'm about to say. Christos Gage is not a bad writer at all, and the art is really good. Now, here's the big booty but the first 2/3 of this book is just introducing variants of characters randomly popping in to go, wait, is that you? This is all so weird. And then basically using Maestro solely to jump in, call out Korvac, who's the guy who's created this battle world, so he can create the air-quote perfect timeline, and then ending with Arcade being elsewhere on the planet going, nope, I shall win the game, and call this Meta-World. It all feels was told to make this book and going through the motions of a now common random characters doing random things for no real point plot trope. But that is probably really where I have the biggest issue with this book. The basic premise is flawed from the get-go. Save your timeline by winning a game. Everyone who is involved in this that has been introduced so far are not people we care about on a multiversal level. Do we care if a random old man Hank Pym wins and his universe gets to stick around in the infinite void of the Marvel IP when an exact copy of that world will pop up if some writer down the line wants to use it? Moreover, this is the story that needs to be set up using the main 616 as a catalyst. It's why this worked as the finale tournament for Dragon Ball Super. For anyone who doesn't know or doesn't care, the big storyline, and kind of the only one that really worked for the anime, is a tournament between universes. If your team gets eliminated, your universe is destroyed. Win and you get to wish on the Super Dragon Balls. It's why the good guy universe doesn't just ice the cooler people so we can get Kaba and Kale to stick around, because they can eliminate all these people and then be like, my wish is for that not to happen. But there's no stakes in that. You know that, they're not going to delete the Dragon Ball Z universe. But the reason that people really enjoy it isn't here's the tournament. The tournament is the framework for the characters. Seeing the characters we know make decisions like who gets put on the team, and then how Frieza may finally learn while battling next to Android 17 that Goku might actually be a good little monkey. I should have probably rephrased that. The point I'm trying to make is that this is an okay read in a vacuum. It's not great, it's just a shockingly generic setup for the future. But even then, what is there for an actual future? Another comparison to be made here would be that this would have made a great Exiles plot. Asterisk, if they used cooler characters. Hell, a start to an Exiles run where Korvac actually pulls 6 people together because I have seen this. This is the team in all the universe to beat this battle world and give us the perfect timeline. And then have the reveal be that it's a battle world created by the Bugs or something like that, just to tie the past together, it could work. But there is no long-term growth on the horizon for this book. It's actually the real point in calling something an ongoing, even if we all know that it's just going to be a trade run at best, because there's potential. But you need to show people that potential in the first issue. And yes, you can also argue that I'm not giving this book a chance because I came in ready to not like it, which is fair. But I also think that a book can change minds by being something more, and it just isn't. What actually really hurts me saying all of this is that at the very end of the book, there is this really nice list in the back that has Cheeky Christos telling us all the worlds the characters he's showing off are from. It is another great point to say that Gage should have been put on a real Exiles book and not just something that feels like it wants to be a Secret Wars tie-in. So my verdict for this book is ignore it. Ignore it means that sadly it's not really worth anything. Yes, the book is readable, it is not poorly written, and the art looks great. So, if it is padding up on Marvel Unlimited and you've already read the good stuff, then you might want to check this out, but otherwise, The Ultimate Universe has been awesome. Yes, even Ultimate Wolverine has its perks. So an Ultimate Hawkeye, my third favorite Marvel character, Hawkeye is, not Ultimate Hawkeye, not yet. I am down for that. Although he does seem to look more like a Hawkeye Red Wolf amalgam, so I'm still here for this, but I'm curious. Ultimate Hawkeye #1, written by B. Earl and Taboo, art by Michael Santamaria, colors by Alex Sinclair, with letters by Joe Sabino. Ultimate Hawkeye targets the Maker. Spinning out of the Ultimates, breakout hit character Hawkeye goes on a covert solo op that will have a massive impact on the future of the Ultimate Universe. Wow, thanks, Solicit. That helps me out a lot. So the general plot is that Charlie Ramsey has taken up the mantle as Hawkeye instead of Clint Barton, who does show up later in his other, more evil in this universe, I guess, costume. The ending has Roxanne offering the role of Ronin to Ramsey after all the events. It's something. I do not want to say this book is bad. It is not a bad book. It is a good book. But you can also tell where Denise Camp's prologue ends and B. Earl and Taboo begins. That is not bad. It is just an interesting juxtaposition between the expert shot against Claw in the first 9 pages and the, well, frankly, amateurish notion of sneaking into the eyes wide shut Roxanne sex trafficking party to try and kill the Maker, or at least the very least stop Roxanne somehow. It's just a weird swap up from Perfect Assassin to I want to be the Punisher, but I only have a bow and arrow and no real plan. Then again, Ramsey also gets locked in a cell to do some challenges for the party's entertainment before the ending, where he's given the potential to be Ronin. So that could also be a small hang-up for me, is that it feels like we have this thing and then it turns into some good writing, but ultimately him just doing a couple tasks and then we get a finale. Then again, the Lady Bullseye reveal and ending does work for me. It does legitimately all work together. I think my only problem with this, I think that hang-up comes with the Ultimate Universe, though, because I also have all the other Ultimate Hawkeye books from, I want to say, 2011, where they wanted to flesh him out. I don't think that there's ever really going to be a satisfying fleshing out. Denise Camp made the Ultimates amazing, complete with people using it as iconography in our current civil unrest. That's cool, that's a mark of a great book. But it's also a great book because we see the world through a very focused lens. It's the same reason why Hickman's Ultimate Spider-Man worked. Those are pinpoints in which we can view the new world that are unique and engaging and all that jazz. But it also allows it to be curated so we don't need an Ultimate Wolverine or an Ultimate Hawkeye book to flesh out the world. We see it from a single perspective, so the world fits into that box. For the Ultimate Universe work, we don't need to know what's going on in Austin, Texas. And sure, we could have Ultimate Hawkeye do a quick solo one-shot, and that's cool. But that also means that they also feel, I don't know, less than fresh. So my verdict for this book is read it with an asterisk. It is a one-shot, so it can't really be put onto a pull list, but it is still very much worth reading. It is a great book. So that asterisk is, if you like the Ultimate Universe, I would definitely buy this for your collection, but otherwise stick to or read it. It's a great book, even if it may be more in line with the 616 idea of everyone needing a spin-off, even if it's a quickie. Although I really do still need to start working on that then and now on the Ultimate Universe sometime soon, huh? Closest I have is, I believe, Comicson's video on the Ultimates, the original one. Yeah. I don't really have a cold open for this. I mean, the cover is a big snarling werewolf over a standard-looking Viking. That, plus the title, clearly means that this is going to be a Norwegian version of The Mummy, right? Well, let's give a gander to Viking Moon #1, written by Joe Pruitt, art and colors by Marcelo Frusine, with letters by Joe Martin. Solicit, what are we in for? In 1003, Leif Erikson established a Viking settlement, Vinland, present-day Newfoundland. A strange new world of plenty, but populated by an indigenous people and something else, something unnatural. 20 years after the original expedition ended in disaster, a new attempt to settle the wilderness is made. Ulf and his hardened tribe of Vikings soon discover that the whisper of creatures who are both human and beast are not primitive legend, but death-bringing reality. So yeah, that's the general premise, although the actual story is primarily focused on Ulf and his clutch of Vikings. Mostly we get to see them screw up relations with the indigenous people and then fight them, and while fleeing, that's when they run into the giant werewolves on the cover. It's a fairly straightforward story, honestly, and I like that. It's not a very thought-provoking issue, although there is some point to be made that Lord Ulf gets all woke and doesn't immediately want to kill the indigenous people, like some guy who bathes. That joke there is that early Christendom spread propaganda about how girly Vikings were because they groomed. It's a terrible joke, I admit, but I just wanted to add context there. Wash your balls, people. Not the point. The point is this book is an action-heavy book that has solid characterization for at least Lord Ulf, but most of this is a meat-and-potatoes action book, and I love it. It's not something complex. Though that may come later because every book with werewolves needs to stop the action at least 2/3 of the way through for a 4-page history lesson. Or longer. Which honestly, if the art on that looks anything like in this book, then I am here for that, and I can live with that, and I want that. Now granted, this issue is more Vikings run into werewolves rather than have any direct action against them, but this is honestly a perfect setup issue for the rest of the story. So my verdict on this is naturally going to be, pull it. Pull it means it is absolutely deserving to be on your pull list. It's a great read, and it's two things that go great together, Vikings, werewolves. I'd suggest slightly more physical than digital on this if you can find it, but only because this art just sings when it's on the page. So Robert Kirkman has a fantasy book starring a tribe of orcs out, huh? I mean, I like me some savage swords, so hey, this could work. Let's dig into Skinbreakers #1, written by Robert Kirkman, art by co-creator David Finch, colors by Annalisa Leone, with letters by Russ Wooten. First, let's get to the solicit out of the way. Enor has led his tribe for many seasons, but his time as chieftain is coming to an end. He wields the mighty Skinbreaker, but at his age, he can barely lift it. Will Enor's reluctant heir, Anak, take over before their world falls to ruin? As a bloody power struggle begins, an even bigger threat lurks in the darkness beyond their village. So if you go into this book for the writing, I think you won't be let down. The major crux of the book is on Anak wanting to become the leader of the tribe, more so than Enor not being able to lead. But then again, there's another in the tribe, Thule, who is all about being an asshole when he knows that Enor is weak. It's actually a really good plot, I think, because it also is built around a ritual where the Skinbreaker sword reflects light through it onto molting kids, and then it breaks them out of their old flesh and into their new one. Sort of a magical bris to make them seen as mature in the eyes of the tribe. However, Anak's son is supposed to be of age, but every time the sword reflects on him, his skin doesn't break and it only hurts him. Versus the asshole Chad Thule, whose son he basically grabs off of his mate's breast and shoves him into the Skinbreaker's light, and bam, kid is a healthy orange now. It's a pretty big deal, but all of that's moot because, yeah, Anak challenges Ainur by the end. It's definitely a solid story, even if it does feel like a trope parade until the skin-breaking ceremony. But that's not why you should have this book. There's an author's note at the end of this book where Kirkman says that he wanted this to be a vehicle for David Finch to go ham with the art, and yeah, it shows in the best way. This is insane when it comes to the environments, with the alien landscape being lush and vibrant, but also twisting and terrifying at times. The designs for the tribe is brilliantly simple, but with so much design that you can really tell everyone apart from a glance. And then when you see the beasts in this, oh man. Honestly though, I think this was a little bit of a disservice reading this digitally first, because while you can see the detail and the care that goes into it, it becomes ungodly perfect on the page. But yes, I would also be remiss if I didn't bring up the coloring, because I think this is the detail and line work that could easily become too detailed and busy on the page if it wasn't for an expert colorist going in and breaking through to unify everything to be so damn great. So I think my verdict is obvious, but it is buy it. Buy it means that of course it is worth owning a physical copy, but more than that you should also have it on your pull list. I'd say both digitally and physically, but if you need to choose, go physical. And there's also a few great variant covers you should be grabbing too. It is a good start to what I think will become a great series. Oh, so now Tim Seeley's on a He-Man book too? God damn it, dude. You can't keep getting away with being in everything I like and creating the stuff that I like. How dare you be so damn good and everywhere? Well, with that silly cold open out of the way, let's hope this doesn't suck as we go into He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, The Sword of Flaws #1. Script by Tim Seeley, art by Freddie E. Williams II, colors by Andrew Dahlhaus, with letters by Andworld Design. Okay, I've got some words to say, but first, the solicit. A legion of heroic warriors protect the magical realm known as Eternia. They are led by Tila, captain of the Royal Guard, man-at-arms, weapons master, and combat instructor, and the powerful and heroic He-Man. These heroes, known as the Masters of the Universe, keep threats like the evil Skeletor and his minions at bay. But when an ancient and evil artifact is unearthed from the depths, the Masters of the Universe will have to scour the land in search of this Preternian power, or risk it falling into the hands of their greatest enemies. I really need to preface everything I'm about to say with I am currently hopped up on a ton of anti-allergy meds. I say that as a prerequisite because there was moments in this that felt a bit off for me. Honestly, this is primarily a giant action scene of an issue. I mean, outside of the opening bit of Eternian history, and it does work. I really mean it. This book does work. But there also seemed to be a little bit of a disjointedness going on. That's why I needed to preface this, because while I think it's a straightforward story with great dialogue and introduces the characters on both the good and the bad teams well, and it showcases the dynamics of those teams and all the in-betweens. It's great, but there also felt like there was a little bit of a break in the flow of action that kind of stopped your brain to go, wait, what's going on? But I am sort of making that a wash since my focus has not been the best under all these meds, so it can easily just be that I am bouncing too much on the dialogue that the flow broke. It does happen. Sometimes having eyes that work helps with the picture gazing. That's a hell of a sentence. Also, the art is very beautiful. I think it looks really good. However, before I start coughing again, let me get to the verdict. Sorry if this one is on the massively short side. The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. I mean buy it. Buy it means that it is absolutely a book that you should have on your pull list, both digitally and physically, and you should absolutely get all the cool variant covers. And personally, it's pretty cool that Dark Horse got the IP fully. No, I haven't read the previous series, but I'm always happy to get another kung fu wushu kind of comic. I'm consistent in my love for the era and the insanity that a good writer can bring, so let's hear it for Orphan and the Five Beasts, Bath of Blood #1. Written, illustrated, and lettered by the creator, James Stokoe. Orphan, Mo is back. After having dispatched 2 of the 5 beasts, tasked to her by her late master, the hunt begins for the 3rd. But Mo isn't the only one following the trail, as a whole new cast of eccentric and dangerous players arrive to join the fray. Well, that's definitely a log line for this because, yeah, while I haven't read the first ones, this is a really fantastic start for even those who haven't. I don't know about the past players, but the ones introed here are, well, I don't want to say manga as fuck, but yeah. For a good example, there's a kick-ass scene where Mo uses a bow staff through someone's cheek to swing them around, or at the end where there's a hand trying to attack a woman buggy style. Right, so let's start at the beginning. I should say that the plot of this comic is that the Bruised Pine Bandits, I believe that's Mo and her faithful Patsy Hot Pan, and I think a pregnant chick, but I'm not sure if she actually counts as a member of the Bandits, or if she's just random mystical pregnant woman. You know, those kind of float around. Having defeated 2 of the 5 beasts, are now on the track of the 3rd. Meanwhile, there's a mysterious Inspector Zhao on her trail. Yes, in town, there is a really cool action scene, actually a couple, but the one that's really fun starts with that trick with the staff, although it's technically the staff end of a spear, and that's just badass. Then Inspector Zhao ends the fight by saying she and Mo needs to talk. Dun dun dun! Oh, and then the hand of apparently Chopper Tang is on the pregnant lady's belly to give a wait, what the hell? For a real hook ending. Yes, I am here for that. If you heard the plot and didn't go, oh, that actually sounds pretty cool, even if it's a dork who's saying it, then you are a stronger man than I. But that is also why sometimes the summary isn't a means to encapture why something is good. It is interesting how that works. Bad is easier to talk about than good. I blame Shakespeare. Anyways, the comic is awesome with a capital fuck yeah. This is a love letter to the Chopsaki Wuxia movies that I grew up watching avidly. I'd say it comes off as late Shaw Brothers, but at the same time it definitely is its own thing, using the tropes and styles from those flicks. But at the same time it's James Dacko, my dudes. And he is a flavor all by himself. The art is frenetic, kinetic, dynamic. It flows like water, but hits with the intensity of a brick. It is epic. Oh, and the colors are pretty cool too. Look, it's not going to come to any surprise that this is a 5 out of 5 if I did a numbering system, but on my grading scale, the verdict is collect it. Collect it means that you should have it on both your digital pull list and your physical pull list. You should get all of the issues in floppy, and when the trade comes out, get the trade. And of course, since this is actually the second mini in the Orphan books, you should retroactively go back and give that first run, at the very least, in trade form, a read. And if you've never heard of Stoko before, the book of unfinished comics that came out, he did, is honestly a must-have for any comic fan, or honestly, just art fan in general. Completely serious about that, dudes. It's sort of sad that I think I made this joke last month, but will this be another Vampirella book that I really like and will never get to talk about again because of the format of this show? I mean, I could make that joke, but this is a one-shot, so I don't get to feel bad next month. Yes, still go read Vampirella Armageddon. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about Vampirella, Halloween Horror number 1. Written by Liam Johnson, art by Jordan Michael Johnson, colors by Michael Woods, and letters by Carlos G. Mangual. First, the solicit. Something sinister is stalking the streets of New York City. And that's the daughter of Draculan's job. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba. When Vampirella learns of a paranormal serial killer targeting the city's vulnerable youth, she takes it upon herself to confront the mysterious Avum about the predator's true identity, and finds herself wrestling once again with the question that has shadowed her entire life. When does a gift become a curse? Now, before I get into anything specific, I want to say that the opening pages here, where we see the supernatural murder for the first time, is brilliantly simplistically done. The entire book is brilliant, but here, there's just something brilliant in how we see the child age. It's all done in a panel shaped like the boy as the angel, spoilers, is kissing his forehead. It sings. So yes, the main plot, without being vague, is someone's been kissing kids and aging them up to the point of death. Yeah. It's an angel who thinks that she's giving them a gift. Vampirella fights her, and eventually the angel changes her ways by punishing bad guys. I know that sounds super simple, but you can tell the Johnsons come from 2000 AD because this issue knows how to use action and dialogue within that action to convey the point. This isn't just a cheesecake issue, though damn does Jordan know how to draw Vampirella at her outfit's skimpiest at times without ever feeling like it's just for the male gaze. Actually, that and other books really showcase why the redesigned outfit that Kate Leth did a few years back was a great idea in concept, but couldn't get past the fan expectation stage. What I mean is that, as iconic as her outfit is, I still see people complaining that a book like this, or many other Vampirella books, that have her ass hanging out, but also has really great plot, excellent art, and just aren't generally great reads, basically just only have people going, oh, and there's her butt. I mean, it is an easy thing to point out, especially when I've always got the cosplay covers on, but it's just something worth noting. I think the phrase is, I'm not complaining, I'm just observing when it comes to that side of things. And I really hate that the couple people that I've talked to about this book have pointed out only onto the artwork, being like, yeah, she's really hot here. Look at how detailed that ass is. Yes, it's a very nice ass. Have you actually read the book, though? The book is great, and I can't quite exactly say why, because a book like this is a reader book. You need to read it to get the emotions and the feel for it. It's almost like art is supposed to be consumed or something. What's up with that? So I know I may be a little scant on the details, but my verdict here is buy it. Buy it means that you should have this digitally as a reader, have it physically as a read, and then you should go and get all the variant covers. Or at least the ones you really dig. Me, I dug all of these on the go around and have the versions for each. Plus a normal one for posterity, of course. A Star Trek book I don't have to talk about a TV show with? You're setting me up here, right? This isn't going to be where Michael and Discovery jump into the future, right? I hope not, because I have even less to talk about with that than I do regular Disco's book. Either way, the creative crew is cool, even if that ship on the cover looks like a bird of prey run by Goldfinger. Still, I'm definitely here for Star Trek, The Last Starship #1. Written by Jackson Lanzig and Colin Kelly. Art by Adrian Banilla. Colors by Heather Moore. With letters by Clayton Cowles. Before anything, I need to preface this with the fact that I'm currently hopped up on allergy meds. Will that change my views? No. Will this make this sound kind of weird sometimes? Sure. The Federation has fallen. Hope is fading. One last starship remains to fight for the future, unless a resurrected James T. Kirk dooms it first. For 7 centuries, the United Federation of Planets brought together the entire galaxy with peace, stability, enlightenment, and the promise of a mutual protection. And then, in one terrible moment, it all crumbled in an event known as the Burn, a galaxy-wide disastrous event in which dilithium had gone inert, causing the detonation of every active warp core. The only ship remaining is the hack-and-slash Enterprise Omega and its ragtag crew. Facing a true Wild West in space, the crew will need to make use of what few resources they have to uphold Starfleet's mission of unity across the universe. And Captain Kirk will have to face a future without the Federation that he loves so dearly. Before I get into anything, I want to say that I am partially livid that the Burn happened. Not because it's not a great storytelling device, but because it actually is the premise of the start of a throwback sci-fi radio show that I've been working in production hell for about 2 years now. No, that's not me claiming theft or plagiarism or anything like that. It's just me being a baby that someone else got to use the idea before I did. Luckily, it was the hive mind that did it, because goddamn is it brilliantly utilized here. The opening scene alone, which shows the Gorn about to join the Federation before all hell breaks loose and everyone's warp core explodes, is just epic, with the tension of the actual discussion with the Gorn just ending mid, yeah, we agree to, what's that? Kaboom! But it doesn't end there because, while James Kirk is the big name in this, he only appears in one panel, and he doesn't get to say words. However, there is so much more to this. I mean, hell, just given the line, God made man in his image, but I heard you met God once and came out on top. It's a lovely line. I love that line. It makes me smile. But it's everyone else in this that I think really works. I mean, I want to talk about this comic in depth. I want to do a 15-20 minute breakdown of everything that I love. The new Borg cooperative gives us the transwarp capabilities that'll happen. The fact that the Omega looks very much not like the gold-plated BOP on the cover, but almost like an enhanced Excelsior kit bash to have some really cool scoops behind the saucer, and the nacelles turned on their side for some more personality. The murder at the end of this book. The greatness of the we're kind of all fucked here meeting after the burn. This is all so damn good. And the art. Oh man, this art. Okay. I would actually say the best way to describe this art is that it feels like... Okay, I'm going to be an old head here and probably make no sense. It feels like an evolved form of the old Gold Key comics, but at the same time has a line work that's reminiscent of the 90s graphic novels, but even now has just so much personality, particularly in the green dipped parts. It is just so pretty. Guys, this may actually easily be my favorite comic this week. So with all that gushing, I say my verdict is naturally collect it. Collect it means that it should be on your pull list, both digitally so you can read it the second it drops, and physically so you can read it when you have it, and then you get all the variants. My personal favorite variant is that Ashcan cover, because damn, I feel like it really should have been the main one. But more than that, do that for every issue that comes out. And I would also argue that if you haven't, you should really check out all of Hive Mind's Star Trek work. I mean, I think one or two might have won an award. And most of their non-Star Trek stuff is really good too. I'm just saying, they are so damn epic. I know I'm going to be covering a lot more horror anthologies, especially since we're coming into October, but to me, the Twilight Zone is something special. So that may be where I stop being so thrilled even about the adaptation-y stuff. Oh, woe is me as I enter The Twilight Zone, number 1. Written by Dan Waters, art by Morgan Beam, with letters by Sandy Tanaka. Terrified citizen regales a detective with a story about the people suddenly frozen like statues. A once bustling metropolis becomes quieter by the minute, as people are replaced by featureless versions of themselves. Where one would have found hopes, laughter, tears, and struggle, one can now only find blanks here in the Twilight Zone. Sure, my Rod Serling impression isn't that good, but this comic is. However, first I want to say, what the hell is up with that solicit? The story doesn't have him talking to a detective, so far as that we know, and the blanks aren't exactly statues. Did they put the wrong solicit copy up, or was this heavily reworked at the last minute? Anyways, it is kind of essentially that, as well as dealing with the hubris of humans wanting to live forever. But I'm slightly at a crossroads. You see, Dan Waters spins a great yarn here, and it does indeed feel like an episode of The Twilight Zone, and even other Twilight Zone comics. But I'd also say that it wouldn't be considered one of the best Twilight Zone episodes. I absolutely think that the blanks would be a visual people reminder, so it would be liked, sort of like the pig faces from the episode Eye of the Beholder, but I also don't think that it would be talked about so much, awkwardly like Eye of the Beholder. It's visually remembered, but not exactly talked about in context. So should I judge this on that stance? It's great in principle, but probably wouldn't be in the top 10 of the show. Well, okay, maybe it would have been an actual top episode in the 90s relaunch of the show that happened in the 90s. I also can't say how it would compare to any of the ones from the Jordan Peele a few years back. Not the point. Point is, should I? If I judge this on its own, it is a great one-off story. And I think that's always how you should read it, or read most anything, especially those in an IP. Well, there's never an in the vacuum when it comes to IPs. I mean, even Batman Dark Patterns, which is being called one of the best Batman books currently ongoing, it's also discussed within the context of Batman, because that's the IP. What does this have to do with Blanks, the comic, the singular story in a sea of other stories? Abso-fucking-lutely nothing. Again, the story is great. It is a fantastic little tale about what some people would go through, and put the world through, more importantly, if it meant that they could live forever. Although I will also say, generally, Twilight Zone episodes show some sort of comeuppance. You know, it's why people remember the, "No, I finally had time." But this really leads off with a, screw everyone else, I'm good to go. So my verdict for The Twilight Zone, number 1, is pull it. Pull it means that it is totally worth reading, and you should definitely have it on your pull list, especially with the new upcoming issues having different creative teams. Now I would say put it on your pull list either physically or digitally to check out the next issue. I would say do it physically because it's good black and white. However, I would also like to bring up that I'm not sure a $5 price point is worth it when it's a 24-page story. That is 12 additional pages that are just ads and a preview for Return to Sleepy Hollow. I don't like that precedent at all. Hi, I'm AJ Carey. This may be my channel, but this is not my show. This is Sammy's Picks. Basically, once a week, my co-host on Killing 15 Minutes, Mything 15 Minutes, and Blanking 15 Minutes, oh, and she's also my sister, picks a new release from our first issues pool that she wants to talk about, as a barely literate casual comic reader. So, time for the Casual Comicist. This shall be fun.
Hello, my fellow comic readers. I am Sam Rossi, the Casual Comicist, and this is Sammy's Picks. This is where I usually tell you what I pick and why. So picture it this way. It's 11 a.m. on Wednesday, and I'm annoyed with one of my side quests. To do something different, I open up the list. Click, scroll, nothing. Click, scroll, nothing. And repeat until I come to IDW's release list. IDW has had some amazing books that I have read since I started doing this. This is when I called the comic archivist, my brother AJ Carey, and told him I was picking Street Sharks #1. He yelled, making the usual younger brother whining, but I was victorious, as you can see, well, here. So let's acknowledge the artisans of this comic book. On story, we have Stephanie Williams. The letterer, because that is an important art form, Jeff Eckelberry. The artist is Ariel Medel, and colorist Valentina Pinto and Jonathan Dobbs. Street Sharks came into our lives originally in 1994. I think it was around that time at least. It was an afternoon cartoon that both AJ and I liked to watch. Because of the popularity of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, we had a lot, and I mean a lot, of mutant animal cartoons. If not mutant, they were from space. We're looking at the space mice, Mars, the mice from Mars or something like that. So, if you don't know, Street Sharks it was about the four Bolton brothers who got changed into sharks by Dr. Paragon, who their father had helped create a machine known as the Gene Slammer, which is capable of changing aquatic animals into anthropomorphic hybrids by combining their DNA. Kind of cool, right? The brothers will have to gain the trust and respect of Fission City, while trying to find their father and conquering the mad scientist. That's their premise. Would it be following the comic books? Okay, so I just finished the book, and I wanted to know more. It seems to be a continuation of the cartoon, which isn't a bad deal. But bad guys' cronies are trying to get enough technology off of a shopping list from Paragon to use the Gene Slammer again. Why? Because he's a mad scientist and wants to control Fission City. And that's the story. It's a story that would have been a 22-minute TV show. And I would love to see more. Give us more. Go deeper into the why. Why did they change it? Why was it, what was going on? Why did their father decide to do this? Give me something that I didn't get in the comic books. Artwork straight out of the 1990s TV shows. Perfect. For this one, it's a completely 90s book. And I am such a 90s kid. Lettering is on point. Readable. Perfecto. So Jeff Eckelberry, you did great. There's another 3 books coming out, and I'm not sure if I'll read beyond the second issue if it's just another episode of a 30-year-old cartoon. We should get at least a background that wasn't revealed during the show. I said that, and I don't know why I repeated myself. But that's my opinion. What's yours? Let me know on Facebook at Carry On Productions or at... Let me know at Facebook at Carry On Prod on Twitter. I want my Bluebird back. Stop with the X shit. I'm Sam Rossi, the Casual Comicist. See you between the pages, Inklings.
With all of that, though, maybe I'm wrong, or I missed a comic worth talking about. Let me know on the YouTube video version of this, on whatever podcast platform you're listening on, or on social media at The Comic Archivist on Facebook, on Twitter at AJC_doesitall, and even on Blue Sky at AJC Does It All without any underscore. I'm always open to being told how wrong I am about current mainstream and indie books alike. Don't forget to like, share, follow, subscribe, and all of the other stuff that I'm being told that I need to say to keep this show going again. Don't forget to check out the other Carry On Production podcasts, like Killing 15 Minutes, Mything 15 Minutes, and Blinking 15 Minutes. They're great, I promise. More than anything, though, remember, stay golden, Inklings.